Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of our Failing Forward podcast, where
Welcome back,
Dina and
guys.
I will talk about our entrepreneurship journeys, what we've been through, what we're building, what kind of I guess like wins, setbacks we've experienced, and everything kind of in between, and have you join in on our conversation. Um, this is actually our, I think, third time in this room trying to record this podcast, and third time today as our third cut.
Three is a good number.
We failed many times, but hopefully third time's a charm.
There we go.
So we failed many times, and we're still here again. And that's actually the topic of this podcast. It's you'll fail, and here's why, and here's why we've decided to keep going anyways. So we'll get right into it. We have a list of questions we want to get through today, to basically kind of give you guys an idea of what failure looks like in entrepreneurship, what it's looked like for us, and what it may look like for you, and how you can kind of work yourself through the failures and setbacks that you also kind of may come across during entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is frankly all about consistently failing and failing forward from there on. So I guess I'll kind of ask Dina the first question that I have, and then we'll kind of go and bounce back and forth. So Dina, 90% of startups fail or will fail. Why have you decided to do it anyways?
I think if I were to sum up basically the entirety of like my entrepreneurship journey, it's been like just to learn.
Yeah,
I feel like when you go in with that mindset, that's like the entrepreneur's mindset.
exactly.
Because you're absolutely right. Like 90% of startups will fail. We're building startups right now that we don't know whether they are going to succeed or whether they're going to fail. But one thing that we will both consistently find, and any entrepreneur who goes through any sort of experience will find that in the midst of failure, you will learn.
Yeah,
and whoever kind of knows like a little bit about like my background, and I kind of talked about this in the first episode, was like that I pivoted through a couple of different ideas before I landed on Power of Play and decided to pursue that and really like unpack it and try to get it to market. Those first couple of ideas weren't really fruitful. They didn't really go very far, but they were stepping stones, right? And that word like stepping stone, I think is like super important, because you will fail, but how do you fail in a way that teaches you so that you don't make that mistake the next time around?
No, for sure. And I think that is exactly what I'll echo. And I think everybody listening should also keep that at top of mind, where entrepreneurship is a relentless pursuit to find an opportunity to create value. But at the end of the day, for the entrepreneur themselves, it is a chance to learn, right? It is a chance to learn. It is a chance to grow. It is a chance to learn from the things happening around you, right? There's so much movement. There's so much data. There's so many problems that you're constantly learning from.
Right.
And I think no matter what you decide to work on, for example, if you're listening to this today, tomorrow, whenever you decide to finish and listen to this, and you decide to work on something the next day, that may not actually be the thing you fully work on for the rest of your life for the next 5 to 10 years, right?
Sure.
But like Dina had said, like it's going to be easier to start again the time after, because you've already now done it again. So I think like I echo a lot of points, and I don't really have much else to kind of add to that, because I think entrepreneurship and like why we've decided to do it anyways is because, one, like there's so much of a learning experience to this, where like you quite literally have like maximum learning potential. The amount of decisions you're making, the amount of kind of critical thinking you're doing, the amount of kind of, I guess, like
self-driven
exactly
type of like work, where it's like
exactly
the hardest type of work is the self-driven work.
Exactly.
There's no one to exactly like tell you what to do. There is no handbook.
That's exactly
It's just a matter of like, all right, here's a problem. We need to figure out a solution, and we need to find a way to get it to all of the people who need it, right?
That's exactly it.
And
That's
it's like,
exactly
all right,
it.
go figure it out.
And I'll just add a question that's not in our list here, but I'm just wondering. So it's like, to your point, it's very self-driven, right? So for those listening, and if they want to, for example, get started, how did we get into this self-driven mindset? Because I think that's what folks maybe have some trouble with, where it's like, okay, like I have an idea. I want to maybe work on this, but how do I kind of get into the mindset of this is something I want to do for the rest of my life, or like the next couple months, just like see it through.
Right. I think there are two sides of this. I think there's a side of like, first of all, are you passionate about this? Right. Like if this isn't something that you see yourself kind of like waking up to, and no matter what stage of like success or failure you're in, you're like, I'm still gonna wake up and I'm still gonna do this today because I absolutely just like love it.
Exactly.
Then, you know, I would really first take the time to evaluate that.
Yeah.
For me, I knew that, like, right, because I pivoted through so many different ideas, but what mattered to me was like I still wanted to see this through in whatever shape or whatever like way that it looked. And so I would say just evaluate that first, and then second is just realize that you cannot build this on your own.
Oh, for sure.
You cannot build this on your own.
You need a team, community around you.
My first thing that I did was I started building the community around me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to do, and I wasn't going to rely on my like passion is one thing, but passion doesn't tell you how to do it.
Exactly.
Right.
That's great. That's great.
So I was like part of the process was like figuring out who would help me make connections, build a structure, right? Because we're structurally minded individuals. Like that's just how humans work. And the entrepreneurial path is so ambiguous. So how do you put structure to something that is so ambiguous?
Yeah.
It's hard, but when you find mentors, they'll tell you, you know, typically this is kind of what works. So try starting with this and then set up your own milestones so that you can kind of tweak it in a way that makes sense to you.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I actually really, really appreciate the way you kind of put it, because it's like we're structured individuals, but the journey's ambiguous and the journey's unknown. But the way we fill that gap is finding people in our network and our community to kind of really bridge that disconnect. That's awesome. Yeah.
How about you? What did you find?
I think honestly, one, you have to like what you're doing. So I think, again, echoing a lot of the points you said, like you have to be able to wake up every day and want to actually do what you're doing. It may seem really, really simple and cliche, but it's like if it can't seem like a job. It can't seem like a working day when you're in entrepreneurship. You have to really kind of live, breathe, like sleep entrepreneurship every single day, right? Like it's not something that people do for 6 months, a year, 2 years. This is a lifestyle, and this will become your lifestyle. Like what you're doing, and I think this is so I heard this thing on a podcast. Entrepreneurship, you're sacrificing the work-life balance by making it one thing. The work and life is now your entrepreneurship journey.
I feel like Jeff Bezos said something similar to that.
Right? It's somebody said something similar. I can't think of the perfect way that they said it, but essentially, usually in a working job, like you have a work and life balance and there's a pretty good distinction. But in entrepreneurship, you're really sacrificing those two things where now they're both blended into one because now everything is just jumbled up together because now there's no real distinction. But
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like I would like both agree and disagree.
Yeah.
Like part of me would be like, yeah, like the reality is it's going to be a more gray line.
Right.
But then there's also like you got to make those distinctions.
Yeah.
And like
for sure.
We'll save that for another podcast because that's a whole other like can of worms.
Exactly.
But absolutely. So I guess failure is like the defining, I guess, like word for entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I think that scares a lot of people. But the way that I explained it is like, there's that saying like fail fast and fail forward.
Yeah. Love
that. Fail fast, I feel like also, it's like almost like fail fast, fail cheap, fail forward. Why? Because
fail cheap.
Love cheap.
That. Yeah.
Why? Great. And cheap doesn't necessarily mean like a financial, like monetary thing. Fail cheap could literally mean like, you know, it's the small failures of like maybe I had a call with somebody and it was just absolutely useless. Like it wasn't the most meaningful thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
It's like, oh, I know who to be looking towards to be getting I guess the most meaning out of a conversation versus like, this is maybe something I could do later or just not at the time being, right? It's those like mini failures that teach you something and shape you to become a more efficient and more effective entrepreneur. But I guess in the midst of all of that, there's a bit of confusion.
Yes.
Right? Of like, am I doing this right? Should I be should I be doing something else? Like, should I be considering entrepreneurship? There's that uncertainty.
Yes.
So my question to you is like, has those failures, whether small or big, has it ever made you reconsider whether or not this was the path for you? And like, what did you do to get through that uncertainty?
Love that. And I love the segue into the question as well. That's great. So it definitely, and it most definitely has made me reconsider entrepreneurship at many points in time. So for me, a lot of those points of kind of consideration and those points of really kind of looking in and basically introspecting what I am as an entrepreneur, what I am as a founder, what I am as a CEO, but what I am as a person more than anything. Those moments really came when folks that you want to be able to have conversations with. So it's in healthcare, it's usually our stakeholders. So our stakeholders are either doctors, they're either hospital executives, they are regulatory folks, they're people that have a lot of power in these healthcare institutions. And it's when sometimes, honestly, it's really just getting different opinion and different feedback from folks. Sometimes I may get surgeons say, hey, like our nerve injury rate or our X% rate is actually lower than 1%. This is not going to move the needle for anything in our hospitals. And then some surgeons will be like, this is incredible. Like this is going to be such a game changer in a lot of clinical use cases. And you know what? Like it's really kind of being able to filter out and understand what the folks that don't like or what the folks are saying about your tech that don't yet appreciate and value it is, and being absolutely and intellectually curious about their feedback. Because one thing I will say is anybody that tells me that they don't think our tool or don't think our device would be helpful in our ORs or anything like that, I'm absurdly and irrationally curious about why, right?
As you should be.
And I think as an entrepreneur, like if somebody like as an entrepreneur, and I think every entrepreneur will tell you this, like your fastest, like the quickest thing you want to do is get to a no, right? That's like the best. That's like the best thing you want to do.
That's a scary thing. That's a really
it definitely is. It definitely is a really scary thing. But I think for the sake of like interviews that I was doing with clinicians and surgeons, and I kind of meet with them day to day, it's really kind of understanding, Kate, like a surgeon out of X hospital didn't want or didn't see a use case. I would be ridiculously curious about why they think so, and I wouldn't try to sell our technology anymore because at this point I know that they don't value it right now for what it is. I would just try to understand what their priorities, what their motivations, and what their kind of workflow looks like to better help integrate into their workflows.
Absolutely. Because it might not be the tech, that's the problem.
Exactly.
It might be the flow into the clinical environment and the cost and all of those things that like you wouldn't see at first glance.
Exactly. And I think that's exactly it, right? Where it's like, whereas when somebody is really supportive of a technology, is really kind of enthusiastic about it, I really appreciate that. And I kind of really weigh that over the 10 failures. And I think right now, navigating that internal uncertainty, even for you guys, when you guys are starting out, you guys are going to face immense amount of rejection, immense amount of no's, setbacks, failures. But what I think should always be the North Star for everybody listening, and even it is for us, I think, and I feel like maybe I can speak to both of us, it's really being able to see the bigger picture, right? It's being able to see the bigger picture and being able to have those, maybe it's 3 or 5 people that really, really like our tech and are like, I need this tech.
Yeah.
And it's those champions that really kind of carry us forward throughout those moments of uncertainty to say, yes, there is some utility to something like this.
Right.
But yeah, wondering how you also navigated this as well, because I know like we've kind of had different journeys and different timelines. So yeah, wondering if you've kind of handled it differently than I have.
Like, I would say, if you are an entrepreneur, and there hasn't come a time in your journey where you are like, maybe this isn't the path for me, I'm sorry, you are not human. You are simply not human, okay? Because that is, and there's a wisdom to that, right? Like, you shouldn't just be walking blindly and being like, oh, just because I'm passionate about this, therefore I must do this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a very fine line between saying I'm passionate about this, therefore I'm going to figure it out, versus I'm passionate about this and I'm going to keep on going and hitting the same wall over and over and over again, even though it's not the right thing to do. That's like two things to make a distinction of. And there absolutely have been times where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do this, right? Because number one, it's ambiguous. Number two, you spend so much time and effort and it takes you away from other things in life, which, you know, we could talk about this in a different conversation, but that's also kind of, I guess, a downside to entrepreneurship that you have to eventually figure out, because there's a way, but you got to figure it out. And there was the other thing too, of like, both of us did this in our undergrad, right? And it was like, should I be focusing on this, or should I be focusing on my GPA? Because like, what if I want to do like grad school? What if I want to do like professional school? Like, am I going to be able to get into those things? They require research and they require this and that and all these different things, because we know how hard it is to get into these post, I guess, undergrad / professional school programs. And it was like, the only thing that I'm focusing on is my startup. But I'll tell you something. For me, the way that I navigated it was, number one, I just had such a deep passion for and I still do. I have this like deep passion for figuring out things that are unknown.
Love that. I think that's every entrepreneur's like internal kind of mindset, where it's like, we love fixing problems, and I think we are such good problem identifiers.
Yes. Not necessarily the good problem solver.
Not necessarily solvers just yet at every problem, but we can identify problems
and opportunities.
Opportunities, right? Exactly.
So yeah, like I did have my uncertainties, and my uncertainty definitely came with my previous startup, Harmonies Innovations, because I was really struggling to find people who would help me validate the problem and the solution. I was like, is this the right thing to do? I just spent a year only doing this, and now I feel like I need to like stop working on it, not sure what to do. But at the end of the day, the way I navigated the path was just a lot of introspection. I love that word. A lot of introspection.
Of course.
Recognizing that big things don't come overnight. And I'm not saying like I'm not trying to become like a billionaire from entrepreneurship. Like I'm just trying to solve problems. That's really what I want to do. But things like this don't come overnight. And for me, it was like I also, as a person, had that drive and that personality for leadership, for identifying problems, for being okay with uncertainty. And I feel like if you have those kind of skill sets, why not put it into entrepreneurship? So that was kind of my way of figuring it out.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think what I will say is, like, when kind of dealing with entrepreneurship and when considering if entrepreneurship is something you want to pursue, you have to maybe consider three things, right? Are you able to handle failure? Are you able to handle failure consistently? And are you able to learn from that failure? I think those three things.
And I'd add to failure uncertainty.
Yes.
Are you able to handle uncertainty? Because there's a lot of it that comes in every single aspect.
Exactly.
In every single aspect of entrepreneurship. Whether it's about the problem itself, about whether or not you should be an entrepreneur, what tomorrow is going to look like, and whether or not you're going to be able to get the funding. There's uncertainty everywhere, and that's why failure comes. Because there's uncertainty everywhere.
Exactly. So I think those 3/4 things that should be at the back of your mind to say, yes, like maybe I haven't felt too much failure yet because I've been always excelling academically, or I've always had good grades. At the back of mind, if you really want to truly be an entrepreneur, that's something that should be like front and center because of the uncertainty, like Dina kind of mentioned, that is in this journey, right, of entrepreneurship. I guess I'll maybe kind of segue us into our third question here is, so we have our startup idea. How do you kind of differentiate between kind of stubbornly, irrationally persisting at this idea versus maybe being not so stubborn and being really malleable and flexible with the way we kind of face setbacks and work with our idea? Like, do you, like, for example, if we received suboptimal feedback from a stakeholder, right? Like from what I said before, do I quickly pivot or do I kind of have a head-on focus and keep going? Like, how did you kind of navigate those uncertainties?
Well, first of all, always listen to your customer. Yes. Whether it's good feedback or it's not very good feedback, always listen. Because there's always more to what a person is saying.
Yeah.
Right? There's more than what just meets the eyes / meets the ears, okay? You need to, for me, what I found with, I'll contrast my two like startup experiences. With Harmony's Innovations, I was speaking to stakeholders, not as many as Power of Play because we got a lot more interest for Power of Play.
Right.
But I didn't know that when I was doing Harmonies, obviously. And I did speak to a couple of people, and I was really attentive to their reactions. People would give feedback because they were trying to help me.
Right.
But they weren't necessarily over the moon.
Okay, interesting.
They weren't necessarily always like over the moon about the idea of being like, yes, this is like some people would say like, yes, this is amazing. Like, we really need this, but they weren't the experiencers of the problem. Right.
I see what you mean. Yeah. It's those individuals that are like, that don't say no, that don't say I love it, but they're in the in-between.
And exactly, they're in between.
They're in the in-between.
And that became hard. And it wasn't that, and just to go back to the idea of like, it doesn't mean that the problem wasn't worth solving. Like it absolutely would be worth solving.
Yeah.
I was struggling to find the people who were passionate about it enough to tell me whether or not my solution was the right solution for the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
And because I was struggling, I was thinking about, okay, maybe the domain that I'm in, because the domain that both Harmony is and Power of Play are in is in the rehab therapy, hand therapy, occupational therapy / disability space.
Exactly. Yeah.
So my idea was, okay, maybe the space was the right domain, but it was a different problem that needed solving.
Exactly.
And that's when I pivoted over to the idea of Power of Play. And then I failed, quote unquote, what just happened. And I started from scratch. I started from square one, and I did the exact same thing with customer discovery and just interviewed all these people. But the significant level of like interest that went up.
Yeah.
Where it was like we had a much higher rate of people being like, yes, I want to get on a call with you. Yes, I want to give you feedback. I think this is a great idea. And not just I think this is a great idea, but and not everyone was like this, but I'm just saying rate-wise.
Exactly. You're not going to have a perfect stakeholder interview every time,
never,
right? Never. Exactly.
Never.
Yeah.
But then there were people who would be like, I want to follow up with you. I want to know more.
Exactly.
That's how you know.
Yeah. Those are the folks that you run after because they're also running after you.
Exactly.
Right? Because folks that tell you, hey, like, let's get connected after, would love to chat with you after, keep me updated. Those are the folks you want to chase after because those are the ones that are going to be your first adopters, the first people that want your tech, the first people that want your idea or whatever you create.
Absolutely.
No, that's awesome. That's a great,
how about you?
That's a great insight. And I think, for me, differentiating between, I don't know, honestly, now that I think of it, like I did think of pivoting a couple times, but I was very much, I think I was, just full transparency here. I think I was a little stubborn as a founder in my early days. Well, in my early days. Gosh, it's been like 3 years. No, I think the first year I started working on Nerveview, I was really kind of stubborn on the idea that I think this is something that would really work because I had like 3 surgeons be like, this is incredible. Like, we've been looking for a way to do this. I even tried to do something like this, but it didn't work. I came across a couple surgeons that really just said something like that. And then I had a couple others actually, like not coincidentally, but surprisingly say the complete opposite, where it's like, yeah, like it's useful, but there's no kind of use case for it. Like there's no economic argument. Like there's whatever other problems that there may be in healthcare, which is completely all right. But for me, and I think maybe it was a kind of not necessarily a blessing in disguise, I don't think, but maybe it was a good thing than bad. But I really ignored those comments during that time. Maybe I shouldn't have ignored them. Maybe I should have been curious about why they would have said that.
Yeah.
But during that time, being a naive young entrepreneur and just not, this is my first time doing entrepreneurship. I kind of decided to ignore those quote unquote like negative comments towards my innovation, because I was like, I'm focusing on the positive ones. But I think now, the more kind of open I've become and the more kind of I've done stakeholder interviews, the more I've engaged with people and the more kind of we've been kind of learning through our journeys, it's so important to kind of understand that what you're working on, again, listening to your customer is critical, because no matter what they're saying, like positive or negative, be super critical about what they're saying, right? Like you are appealing to them, and at the end of the day, and they're going to be the users of whatever you build. And I think if they're not the ones that are ultimately satisfied with it, or they want to change their workflows because of your tech, then there is a large disconnect, right? So I think in my early days, if I were to put a timeline on it, I think I was very stubbornly kind of just head down, focusing on the idea that I was working on. But now I am very much more open-minded to different ideas, because now surgeons are like, hey, like if you could incorporate something like this, completely open to it. Because you know why? Because those are the people that are going to champion our technology later on, right? So I think like it's more so than pivoting, it's about being open-minded to the other opportunities that other people are kind of saying. Like there's a lot of noise around you, but you have to pick what noise has the greatest opportunity.
I love that.
Right?
I love that, because there is a lot of noise around you.
There is a lot of noise
around you. And that's just the nature of it. Like no matter what sector, no matter what field, no matter what it is, there's always going to be some noise around you. It could be noise of, like, I'll give you an example of, like, in the design process, right? You are thinking about customer needs.
Yes.
You are thinking about how you're going to manufacture. You're going to think about whatever product you're going to come up with. You probably might want to protect it. If you're in healthcare, you might need some regulatory approvals. Definitely. This is just me off the top of my head. I'm sure there's so much more to that, like, just for ease of like conversation, right? Those are, I could tell you, 4 very different areas that are all causing noise on this one fundamental project that's part of the bigger picture. Right? And so you need to figure out what is, yes, all of these things matter and they come in together, but how do I take the most important part of each one and put them together? Because you're just not going to be able to do everything perfectly. It doesn't work that way. But yeah, there was something that I did want to mention that I think is really worth like kind of like contemplating on is the idea that failure doesn't mean that, like when we use the word failure in entrepreneurship, it really doesn't mean falling down to level 0.
Yeah, it means the opposite, honestly.
It really does.
It's honestly a milestone, honestly. Like
it's a milestone.
You should treat it as a milestone.
No, that's so true, because the entrepreneurship and like the actual entrepreneurs who are in this space will tell you that like failure is actually like a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like a thumbs up
exactly.
in entrepreneurship, right? Because I can say this, like, at least from my experience right now, power of play at this very moment, if everything, let's say, I hope this doesn't happen, but like if everything crumbled right now and we couldn't move forward tomorrow, right? Gosh, have I learned so much.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I've learned so much about the space that I was working in.
Mm-hmm.
I have made so many connections in the space that I've been working in. I know so much more about IP and regulatory than I probably should.
It's the leverage you have as an entrepreneur thereafter.
Exactly.
Opportunity.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it's like, and I've done pitches where like I now know how to communicate.
Yeah.
I know how to lead because pitches.
Podcast for another time.
Or another time we'll unpack how to pitch and when to and when not to.
Yeah. Oh god.
But anyways, going back to what I was saying, there are a lot of soft skills that you get from. There are a lot of soft skills that you get from entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But hardness in I'm trying to find like mental toughness that you build as well.
Yes.
So you're learning these soft skills and learning how to lead people. You're learning how to find a vision and align, whether it's your co-founder, whether it's the people who are, helping you move this forward, whether you are paying them or they're a volunteer, or if it's mentors, whatever it is, you're aligning all these people around one goal and you're leading them towards it.
Exactly.
So you learn skills like that. You learn how to talk about it in front of people. That no matter where you end up, you will take these skills with you, right? Yeah. And because you failed, now you have mental toughness. And mental toughness is a different thing from emotional toughness. Yeah. But mental toughness is kind of like, I'm like in my mind, I'm envisioning it as like mental toughness, resilience.
Yes.
Like there's a connection there.
Definitely.
And resilience, I think, is one of the best kind of qualities to have in any place of your life. Any place of your life. Because life is just it's not linear.
Yeah.
Life is not perfect. But that's okay. Because you can pick yourself up again.
Exactly. I love that.
Fail forward. Failing is not failing downwards or backwards. It's failing forward.
I think as one of our mentors used to say, it's a first attempt in learning.
Yes.
It's always a first attempt in learning, and the more you fail,
or maybe second.
The more you fail, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the higher possibility and probability you're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
I think those are all the questions actually we have for today. So we'll try and wrap it up. Our next podcast is going to be, we're going to try be somewhat more of an ad hoc questions from you guys based on what you guys want us to possibly talk about. Can honestly be about anything at all. Like if you want us to have a conversation about regulatory, if you want us to have a conversation about how to apply to a pitch competition, if you want us to have a conversation about putting together a pitch competition application, whatever it may be, please send us suggestions, and we're honestly open to talking about anything.
Absolutely.
It's a conversation for you guys to listen in on. But yeah, anything else to add before we close off? All right. Well, with that being said, my name's Manpuri.
I'm Dina Asma.
And we'll see you on the next podcast.
See you guys.